Are we ready?
Yeah,
You tell us
I
when,
am
Melissa.
waiting, a
That's
couple
okay.
people, we're gonna join virtually.
Is that Joan virtually?
So Joan is virtual.
All right, Joan.
And
Dedication.
yeah, thank you all for being here. The Sterling Bowles and Troy Friedersdorf both indicated they would not be here, but might join virtually. So they're not there right now. I'll watch for them and add them if we get going. Dr. Heil indicated he probably would not be here. He may join us as we get going. But we do have a quorum, so, and it has been a while since we've met, so I'm glad, thank you for being here and getting us going. But I think we're ready to call to order.
All right, it's called to order. Do we have any public participation? I don't think so.
None.
I think we're good. All right, do we need to go ahead and approve the minutes from the last board meeting? Has everybody had a chance to read them? If not, please do so now. And once you do, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Cooperative
Just
report.
note Dr. Bowles has joined the meeting.
All
Welcome,
right,
Sterling.
Sterling. Okay. Turn it over to you, sir. I think that's you. Yes,
Yes.
both of you for reports.
Yeah, all right, so financial reports. First of all, the Part B grants, they for the FY 25 grant, this is money that needs to be spent by the end of September. And all that's left in this, this was as of the end of July, 64,800. That is private school money that I'm working with your districts to spend. That must be spent. A couple of you have requested releases of that money, and we're working with your districts to spend that. But this grant will close out at the end of September, and as long as everybody spends their non-pub money, that money will be spent as budgeted. The second one right next to that is the early childhood grant. And again, all that's left in here is money that Noblesville and South Madison needs to spend on non-public schools. South Madison asked for a release, and that money can be, it was approved, so they're working to spend that money on other things. It does not need to be spent on non-public schools. So the FY 25 grants were spent as budgeted and will wrap up in the next by the end of September, and we will I will share with you the final reports once those are submitted. Then for our FY 26 grant, the 611 grant, which is our big grant that really funded our programs for the year that for the 25-26 year. If you look at that one at the bottom, as the end of July, we had just under $700,000 remaining. There still is a pay that came out of that since then. But as you may remember, I was watching this very closely. I was worried that there would be enough money in this grant to cover everything for last school year, and afraid we might have to start to dip into the new grant. But we finished the year within the budget and did not have to go beyond that. So that is good news. And then the 611 grant right next to that is the preschool grant for on that same cycle, and the only money left in there about $9,380, which is non-pub money. That again, I will work with your districts to make sure that money is spent. You see, next I have listed there the Part B FY 2027 grant. We still have not received our allocation, but we are going to be moving in to start spending that money with the next payroll. Once we know the allocation for that, I will update the budget and report back to you as far as where we stand with that. But the state's been very slow to get that allocation out to us. So any questions about the Part B grant money?
Yes, sir.
Next then is the HBM budgets. And just to be clear, these are the budgets for the 25-26 school year. So this is are basically near end of year or very near the end of the year reports. And note, these are from June 2nd. They are a little dated. I was not able to get the updated report from the business office. But I can tell you that we finished the year well within budget for all of these. As you can see, the legal services budget still had $167,000 remaining. The next one is the non-public school budget, which still had $35,000 remaining. The next one is the mosaics budget, which we stayed well within budget there. And then finally, the life skills budget, which we were well within budget there. So finish the year being well within budget for all of those. Any questions about the HBM?
No, but as you're looking ahead to, I think, Melissa, you need to give us access to the personnel reports.
Okay,
Here, I can do
Just
that.
because
Melissa.
I'm trying to open them up, that one's not.
thank you.
Yeah. But keep going. Melissa, you're on dispute.
Oh,
Okay, so the next up is the dispute resolution report. So you will see on there that we've also included the IEEs, independent educational evaluations, because we've noticed that pattern. So just keeping you informed of that. The top one at one of our districts, we are expecting to meet soon to talk about the findings of that evaluation. And then the second one, we did receive a new one from one of our districts where they're wondering about a secondary area of eligibility and working with Steve and community agencies to work through the details of the provider for that IEE. But we are seeing that continued pattern of IEE requests coming through. The second one, we did receive the due process request from Sheridan. They're listed. We are working with council and Sheridan team to respond to that. You can see some of the details there where the topic that they are alleging is regarding providing FAPE and bullying. So, did we deny FAPE due to the conditions of bullying for that student is the main topic that we're.
Later.
go ahead and talk about the personnel report. So I hope you have access to it now.
We do now.
All right, let's see our new hires, heavy with school psychologists, which we knew that was that heavy lift this summer with filling those positions. So we were thankful to find some great staff members there. We also had a new life skills teacher join us at Frankton. And then you can see those resignations that align to those openings. We do have a recent resignation of a COTA, which is a certified occupational therapy assistant. She had family matters and now we are looking to fill that position. We've got a couple applicants and we're doing interviews next week. So we should be fully staffed as soon as we conclude that with a couple. We do have some current openings. Sorry. The job opening, we have an HBM job coach. So we are actively recruiting for that. HBM sign language interpreter. We are contracting so the students' needs are met, but we still have it posted to look to fill independently if we can find applicants. It's a very hard to fill position. And then you see the COTA position that I referenced.
I'm going to add a comment because as I look at that too, this doesn't quite capture our school psych situation. We're going to talk about that later in the meeting, but we still technically are down a school psych, but I will talk about that later in the meeting.
You're right over there, Jake.
All right, that's all we have for the HBM report. Question.
So old business for insurance?
So our liability and renewal is here. We the insurance company we use, Gallagher, is a new name of I'm forgetting their previous name, but our agent has changed the name of the company. But what I point to is the second page of that document has an executive summary, which I think is interesting. And what he captured here was just our claims and payouts over the last 5 or so years. And he summarized it here below. And notice too, we were with Liberty Mutual. We switched to EMC for a couple of years and then have gone back to Liberty Mutual. But the bottom line is here, the renewal for this year increased from 101,329 to 112,944. It's an increase of 11.5%. Even though our increase in students and staff did not increase that much. Our 5-year loss average is about 61,000, which is a 55% loss average, which according to Rob Steele, our agent, that is the break-even point for the insurance company. They would still see it. They're not losing money on us, but they are breaking even. He had some other details there, but we're seeing an 11% increase in that policy, which I think we're seeing increases all over the place, and it is what it is.
Yep.
What I'd say too is whenever I talk about this, there's a question of you each have liability insurance policies. Why does the co-op need one? Couldn't you be covered? And I've asked that many times over the last 20 years, and I think the co-op can still be sued as the co-op, and we need our own policy is what I've learned. So I think we continue with that. I was contacted though this summer about a risk analysis, and this confirmation report from the risk control services at Liberty Mutual comes from a meeting I had with James Levis at Liberty Mutual. He was really focused on sexual misconduct liability issues, and his conclusion, if you look at that, are for the most part very, very positive. We have all of the things in place that would be expected as far as training staff, background checks, reporting, and so on. What Liberty Mutual what I understood from that meeting is seeing more of is student-on-student issues. And so they are seeing that as a higher risk, not because of anything from us, but just because we work with kids with disabilities. So their suggestion was that we, and I'm going to scroll down here, it's in more detail down on the second page of that we consider sexual misconduct program and practices specifically for student-on-student. I did push back and express some concern. This is a pretty sensitive area. And what I wrote in response to this is also there. And basically it is that I would bring this to your attention, would consult with legal counsel, and then would explore what's possible as far as training with students. And I would see this, specifically with the students who are HBM programs, life skills students, mosaics, and would want to, this is a risk. Our kids with disabilities are at greater risk for being victims of sexual misconduct. But I think we also need to be very careful with how we do that. So all I feel like I've committed to is that we will explore and see what the best practices are related to training students and before we do anything. And I'd bring anything like that back to this board.
You asked the attorneys?
I have, and yeah, I have not received any guidance from them yet, but I have reached out to Andrew Mannon's office and asked for guidance on this. So
Hear what they say first.
Yeah. Like I say, it was with Liberty Mutual. It was a very friendly discussion. Wasn't saying you have to do this or we're going to drop you or anything like that. But clearly an area they're seeing more claims in, and I think that's why it's being brought to our attention.
This may be a question for later, but on the renewal, the issues that were on the renewal, were those student?
There was, great question. There was one incident, It's this $57,000 one from 23-24 was an incident, student on student in an after school best buddies related situation. So one of our claims falls in this category.
And is that both years the same claim?
It is not. This, you know what, now that you're asking me that, I missed that that's the exact same number. It may be, yeah, it looks like it is. I completely missed that, but I'll follow up and make sure. I think it was just one.
Or it's also confusing to me because I didn't even know that it was ours because it's Hills.
Say it again.
Like that, the one, it's ours, not Noblesville. You had some, is what I'm saying. Noblesville also had some. It was a split cost.
Yeah, there's something
Yeah.
missing because that math doesn't add up.
It doesn't.
I noticed the second one says the Liberty Mutual share. So I don't know if that was that's different than the above.
Yeah,
But I think if you look at it, Steve, and see, yeah, I think something's missing there. But Derek's question to be, maybe the training is worth it if one of those, like you just said, is a big, what's student on student.
yeah.
I don't have a problem with training. I just would like the lawyers to tell us what we can do first.
Yeah, so a sensitive area, so we need to be careful. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't look at this that closely, but you guys are picking up. There's definitely a mistake in there, the way he's reported that. And there was, some of this was confusing because when Liberty Mutual took us over, they did rely on what was shared with them by EMC, and I think some of the information, as far as some question about who was responsible in different points, wasn't clear, but
No worries. But maybe just send it out to us later.
yeah, I will ask for that to be cleaned up.
Anything else on that, sir?
Not from me. Any questions?
Next one's new business. The first one is, I know I talked to many of you, bringing to the table today to recommend to make Melissa the associate director of the program with the full intent, if you will, whenever Steve retires, whenever he chooses to, that we have somebody in line so that we don't have to go through. Actually, we've been blessed in this program. We haven't had to have major change for a really long time. But we have Melissa. I think we all think the world of her. So if we named her associate director right now with the intent that when Steve retires, we then work through naming her our next director. But the approval of the night today is only to name Melissa associate director. That's the request I'd bring to the board.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye. Congrats, Melissa.
Thank you.
You get a new appointment with no new pay. Congratulations.
It's an honor. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, we will take you to Big Dogs and you can buy.
Yes. Yes, next time you get to buy.
Sounds great.
There's a lot of problems out
Yeah.
there. Congratulations, though, for real. Yes. And then whenever that moment comes, I know Steve's talked about certain dates. Obviously, I'll bring it back to the board and we'll start our transition plan. I don't think Steve's planning on walking out on us tomorrow. So I think we're in good shape for a while. At least I hope not. We kind of like you, Steve.
Okay.
IE reasonable cost guideline.
Okay, at a previous meeting.
We
the
need
board-
requests to that one too. There's several of these that we don't have access to. We'll blame Joan. She's at home.
No, not Joan.
Is
Speaking.
with any motions and second motions. I can't, the microphone is not the greatest on this.
All right, we will, Melissa and I will make sure,
I'll write it down.
make sure we're writing it down, Joan. So we'll get that part if need be. Okay, last year I had the board approve a updated independent educational evaluation policy. And it's linked there in this document if you want to go to that, and I hope you have access to that. In that, one thing we added was a reasonable cost that we would only pay for independent evaluations if they're reasonably priced.
Oh,
And as I've tried to implement that, I feel it would help me to implement that, to have a board input and guidelines set for what is a reasonable cost. So what I did is went back to look at what these have cost us over the years and have summarized there a really wide range, as little as 1,600, as high as 4,300, and actually got one since just recently that was just over $4,500 from I think a group that's not listed on here. And so what I'd like to propose based on this, that we set, and I've also talked this with legal counsel, and there is some legal precedent for school districts setting a reasonable cost limit for these, as long as we make available other options. And there are other options, besides paying over $4,500. So what I'd like to ask the board to approve is to set and this is something I see is coming back to every year. It's not something we would ever write in stone because costs do go up. But set the maximum that we will pay for an independent evaluation at $4,500, which would include the fee for the evaluator to attend the conference.
Okay.
And I did add a note there with the understanding there might be a situation where I think it would be reasonable to go beyond that if it's an extremely complex case and other extenuating circumstances. But for most evaluations, the $4,500 would be a reasonable max.
And it's budgeted for a couple of these?
We have a line for, I think we have $20,000 budgeted for independent evals. It's hard to budget because it depends how many of them we get, depends on how many are requested.
Yeah, my only question there, Steve, is all of a sudden this wouldn't be just, you get, like you just said, 5 of them in 1 year. There's at least some money budgeted for it.
There is some money budgeted, but it could happen. We would get 5, or we could get 2, or we could get 10, and it's paid. We pay for them from the Part B grant, so it comes out of the shared funds, regardless of how many they are. And I'm just trying to keep a cap on. I feel there are some evaluators who, when they see the schools paying for it, we get charged more.
That's cool. So Steve is proposing that we approve the proposal for reasonable cost for independent education evaluations.
Move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're all approved again.
All right.
All state agreement.
All right. Are these links working? Are you guys?
Did I miss one?
No, you're good. I'm sorry.
I thought we had done this, Ball State people.
We have not approved this.
Oh, we just haven't approved because we've already got a couple coming, don't we?
Well, I have it all set up to go just as soon as
Yes.
Here we still do not have a contract, but just to give background, we are still short a couple of school psychologists. I said earlier the personnel report doesn't quite capture it. We have lost 5 psychologists since the end of last school year. One resigned a couple weeks before school started this year. So we have hired an educational diagnostician who's not quite the same, but to fill one of those spots. We have hired 2 school psychologists to fill 2 of those spots. Then what I'm proposing to fill another one of those spots is this arrangement with Ball State. Ball State for several years has been working with other school districts to place their second-year school psych students in districts with the understanding that the students will do at least 15 evaluations each semester. And I would like to propose that, and basically what we pay is the equivalent of what the university would pay them as graduate assistants. So it's kind of a nice way for them to fund their students, and we get a service here. They are second-year students. We still need to supervise them. They're not able to function completely independently. but it is, and I've laid out the costs there. If you think about it, if they each do 15 evals a semester, that's 60 evaluations. On average, our school psychologists last year did between 60 and 70 evals. So for $54,000, we're getting basically almost the equivalent of a school psychologist. It's a cost positive thing for us. Yeah,
And they're already working and stuff, and not because I know one of them, and they're good people. I mean, I think this is great.
well, actually, the ones that are there now are not
Are these the two new ones that might come? You have a couple.
these two, because there are some limitations to this, and they're not available until Ball State. They follow Ball State's calendar. So classes start in a week or so, and that's when these students will first be available. And then they're done in early May too. So there
Ball
are some
State's doing
limits.
it must be right, since it's a real school.
Yeah. Now, I still do not have the agreement, but I did have summarized the terms here, and would ask that the board approve that when we do get the contract here, give me authority to sign that agreement.
So bring the motion of what Steve just said. Oh, sorry, Darren.
How do you pick which evaluations they do? I mean, do you say, hey, maybe not, this is one for a second year?
We will be well, and a bit of it is they have been trained. We're going to have to work with them with what their skills are and what instruments they've been trained on. Ball State does a really nice job of training their students, so I don't anticipate any problems there. So yes, but we've got to rely on what their skill set is as well.
So is there there's a boss of them that they also, when they give the evaluation, that also stamps it?
Yes, there is one of our school psychs will always co-sign their reports because they're not certified to do that on their own.
Move to approve.
Second.
Derek. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's hard to ask for opposed when everybody's already said yes. Unless Sterling wants to oppose. He's welcome to. I didn't hear him. Okay, cool. Thanks, Sterling. All right, keep going extra hours for school psychs.
Extra hours.
And can you kind of explain both at the same time? Because isn't the next one the proposal for additional work from home also school psychs?
Yes, these are all school psych.
And the reason I say that is because I guess we're asking for extra hours, and I know the issue with the work from home. So.
Well, this is, I think, different in that I'm still short of school psych, even with the additions we have. And I actually put this together for me, our meeting, we haven't met. I think that this was originally put together back in June when I was afraid we weren't going to have school psychs at all. And, but I'm going to go ahead and present it and ask, this is just if school psychs do work extra hours, just stating they will be paid their hourly rate. And this would only be if I work with them and approve for them to work during break, extra time to help us get caught up. It's not for giving them the option, for on their own to decide to do that. Just as this part of this comes from me talking with the Noblesville Business Office and wanting to make sure, since the school sites are not covered by the Noblesville contract, wanting to have language that gives us the okay to pay them their hourly rate if we use them in this way. So I'd ask for approval of that.
Makes perfect good sense. Approval for the extra hour rate for our school sites.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I guess I should ask for that too. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Keep moving forward, sir. We're doing great.
All right, one more little school psych thing. I threw this on the agenda late yesterday, so some of you may not have seen it, and this may require a little more discussion. This is actually a proposal I presented, as you can see, in August of 23, to allow the school psychs to work from home 2 days per month. And there was a lot of discussion about whether that made sense then. As I've tried to recruit this summer, I know there were two specific folks who would have been great additions to our staff who declined because they were able to go somewhere else that allowed them to work up to 2 days per week from home. I don't like I don't like the idea of the school sites working from home. I don't think they're as effective. I don't think they can be part of the building. But we're competing for these folks, and we're going to continue to have a shortage of school sites. We have been doing this for 2 years. It's worked quite well with the 2 days per month. In fact, I would tell you about half of the school sites don't do this. Some of them do, about half of them do, but about half of them have not even taken advantage of it. When I have checked with principals, they're usually not even aware that school sites are doing that, or they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember they talked to me about that, but I hadn't even noticed." So I feel like it is working based on what I've gathered. So I would like to ask if we could expand this to offer up to 1 day per week that the school sites would be allowed to work from home if they want to do that. And it's following this same procedure, but just changing it to 1 day per week instead of 2 days per month.
My only concern, I mean, I get it. You and I talked through this a little bit, Steve, and then I throw out, my only concern is, you're right, majority, what happens, who's the one telling them you're terrible at working from home and you need to start coming here? That's my only, you're right, the majority, because I have people do it, but I have had one individual where I've had to be like, yeah, you need to start coming here, because when you go home, it turns into laundry and dishes for the day rather than work, which I get some of that. I just want to know who's responsible for that part, sir. Is it the building principal or you guys or who?
Well, I would see it as, they're HBM employees.
Okay.
Now, they're in your buildings though, but if a
We would be the one telling you, I get that.
yes, I would probably need to hear it from you, from your buildings, but I would work with the principal and be the one that would.
Okay, I mean, you definitely explained the concern because we're losing people because other people are letting them do way more than 1 day a week, which makes sense in my part. I just wanted to be clear on when we have that employee that obviously then shows up the next day and has done nothing. Just keep that on the radar, sir.
Yeah, no, they're expected to be available. They're expected to participate in meetings. They're expected to be able to show that they were working at that time. So
only one other question then too. Let's say there's, full well, there's a bunch of, let's say it's a heated thing we need them at. Do they get that right to say, nope, Wednesday's my day off?
no, they do not.
That's cool,
We specified there in this guideline, if the principal or their administrator requests that they be in person, they will be in person.
Perfect. Any other
Are
questions?
there any other positions that have this option?
Sterling's got one too.
We should repeat that question.
Yeah, Sterling asked, are we losing them to other school corporations or private businesses? In both cases, it was to another school district. One was IPS and the other was Westfield Schools.
Westfield. What was your question, sir?
Are there any other positions that have this?
Oh, Sterling's gonna keep going.
Here's
Give him a hard time.
Mouse, is over, they got a program around, looks like what you got. I'm just gonna have a tough time. You guys can obviously do what you want, but I just need to stand behind it. I just don't think it's fair to the other employees. I want to create a welcoming to the environment, work here. I don't think that's the route I don't want.
So you all hear that?
Paraphrase.
Yeah, probably virtual.
Well, and what Sterling said was he is not comfortable with that. He knows of cases where people work from home and knows they're not as productive. He feels like the school is wants it to be a welcoming place, and folks need to be present to do that. Does that capture, Sterling? Yeah, so he is not comfortable with that, with this proposal.
Are there other positions that have this option?
There are the OTs we have in this have a similar situation. The OTs are more providing direct services to students on a regular basis, so we don't give them as much time at home, but have allowed them to submit for work from home days when it makes sense. But that's the only other one. And the reason we don't give them as much, the school sites aren't seeing the same students, aren't providing a direct service. They do have time that is paperwork, writing reports, and writing reports is where this work from home time, makes sense.
How do we pay school sites? I should probably know this. Is
Yeah, they're-
HBM,
They're
is a
paid,
Noblesville contract?
they're a Noblesville contract. They are,
Outside the bargaining unit too.
they're not part of the
Outside?
bargaining unit, but they have signed the teacher's contract. Just like the teachers do 184 days.
This was done at, I can tell you, because I did this, we moved them off the school, what's 5, 6 years ago now. Because we couldn't hire them. We really went lockstep here at Noblesville, where years of experience is where you're gonna put on the scale. We couldn't hire any school psychs because a first year school psychs getting offered a lot more, so they got removed for the bargaining unit, hence they have a little bit more freedom to tell what's next. I mean, I won't lie, you were gonna say something too, Derek, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask, is Sterling's issue a school psych issue?
But I think, yeah, Sterling, you're concerned, I think it's not just school psychs, but we're
But
talking
his
about.
specific concern, the story he told, is that a school psych issue?
No, that story he told, I think, was not about a school psych, but about people he knows who.
My sister.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
it's I didn't mean for you to out anybody. There are people watching. So I guess I mean, I get it. I'm not a huge fan of it either, but as long as you're the one, somebody's monitoring, and if we're not, I don't mean to disparage Sterling's sister, but if we hire Sterling's sister and she starts doing that, wait a minute, if we hire Sterling's sister and she does that, then you would be the one that says, hey, this is not, we would report that to you. You would be the one that said, hey, this is, and does that say that in here? That we give it, but we can also take it
Yeah,
away?
there's also in here an annual effectiveness rating of effective or highly effective. This will be revoked by your supervisor due to performance.
And I get, because I was against this too to begin with, I get your hiring issue. But like, if I have mine now, this is where I was asking who's responsible. Like, I have Melissa now, she's awesome, and if she was working, I would trust her wholeheartedly to work from home, because she's always prepared. I just want to make sure that if I lose Melissa and I get somebody that shows up not prepared to 2, 3 meetings, if we try this, I can call you and be like, yeah, no more working from home. This person's not getting their work done. Because it's a rock and a hard space for Steve. Like, when the rest of the world's offering this to them and more salary, we basically are hiring them off of culture and the fact that you could be a part of HBM.
Well, that was my question about salary.
I could live with it, maybe, but I would rather keep that money.
That's what I was gonna say.
Salary.
I don't think we can choose that though, can we, Steve?
Well, I guess not for this year. We could, obviously setting salaries are set for this year, but I think if, I think the biggest thing recruiting staff, Sterling, I would agree with Sterling, if we paid more, that would help me recruit more, even more than I think the work from home. They're
So let me throw this out then, Steve. Novoso hasn't done their teacher salaries yet. They're on hold. Realistically, we can wait and we would have to tell me if I'm right on protocol, Will. We would have to make a recommendation to Noblesville to offer them more. Right? We don't get to choose that. So we could, right now, you're not trying to hire anybody right this very second.
Correct, you're right.
Could we hold on this to see if we could do Sterling's option with Noblesville and make a recommendation, but they won't, that their contract, I'm assuming that assumption, Dan's not here. They're probably not gonna do anything until after November 3rd.
Right. Well, here, so just to, a little more information, the way our school sites are compensated, and I probably should have said this in response to Mark, says, we wait each year until the teacher salary schedule is negotiated, and we use that plus $6,000. That's the salary for the school sites, which has made us more competitive. That made as much of a difference as anything as far as recruiting school sites. I think after we did that, we saw that happen well, it caught us up to some districts, but I've seen the other districts have increased school psych pay because, to Sterling's point, that's what folks drives them coming and going more than anything.
Totally respect that. That's why I'm saying though, Steve, if we wait a little bit on this, we're all the same. I'll use me. I don't want to throw anybody out there. If I don't pass, I'm not giving raises to that point, so
Yeah.
really the idea of giving more money is mute. And then you have to think of something else, and it might be days at that
Yeah.
point. If
All right,
we
yeah,
wait
yeah.
and then make an option, blessings we all pass or anybody else, then we can come back and say, hey, let's talk about a fair salary. And that solves Sterling's problems and it solves some of the concerns other of us have. And it allows you still to recruit
Yeah.
people. Is that fair, sir?
And obviously, you all are paying the bills. So, if we increase the salary, that has an impact on you. So but I'd be fine with tabling this and coming back and talking about compensation in lieu of this. That would be great.
Because we want to give you the backing, but I think all of us internally have a little bit concerned about getting that wrong person that doesn't do anything, that does their laundry, like Sterling said, and everything else. Because I've been there once too. And
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that gets hard to show up and be like, you're terrible at this, so you're coming to work. Any other discussion, or is it okay to table for
So
right now?
if we approve this, our board can approve this. If we wanted to change that $6,000, would our board approve that or Noblesville's board approve? that?
Technically, by our operating agreement, Noblesville would.
Yeah.
However, we have always worked closely, in tandem with the Noblesville board. And even, Dan Heil, the Noblesville board has deferred to this board for those kinds of decisions. I would present it to you and then take it to them and they would move forward on it then. But good.
So no motion needed, right, sir? We can just table this for now.
Yep.
And gladly come back to help you, Steve. But since we're not trying to hire anybody right this minute, that could help alleviate some of all our concerns.
And Steve, when we come back, you might have, I don't know how you datatize this, but have data on how is it that those is it 1 day a month or 2 days a month?
Right now it's 2 days per month.
Right, so maybe some data on how many sites we got, how many are actually using the 2 days? How would you rate just their effectiveness in general? I don't know, something that says, because I think our fear is the Sterling fear that they're out monkeying around, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe they really are getting a lot more done at home than they would if they were here.
And
So something.
One perspective I have for work from home folks that I have, and we've been kind of implementing this is, are you paying them for time on task? Are you paying them just to be around? Or are you paying them for work completed, right? And quality of work completed or things that they're doing, right? That's where the work from home thing starts to come in, because if you're seeing the work at the level appropriate, then the work from home is not harming anything.
Right.
So it becomes a straight evaluation thing, right? If your evaluation is strong, work from home is not a problem, because you're going to catch the you're going to catch the work drop very easily, and it's a straight evaluation thing. And you let them know ahead of time, like your evaluation, your work from home evaluation is contingent on that. It's about the work you're doing. And you show them respect because you're saying, as a professional, you're going to get your work done.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Mhm.
I don't know if you heard that. Sterling suggested if we could tie it to the evaluation system. If you're highly effective, you get 4 days. If you're effective, you get 2 days. If you're ineffective, if you're in the other categories, it's not available to you, which is kind of what our current procedure does say. But it basically says you can lose it if you're not effective, but it doesn't tie it to the.
I can see that added into, because I'd say right now, I don't even know if mine takes it. I mean, mine's awesome right now, and
I would guess mine would get more done at home because they're experts in a lot of different things. And I'm sure people are popping into their office every 10 minutes to ask them for advice on stuff. So
Now
in terms of,
that is exactly what the school psychs,
Right.
they were sitting here, would say. I get more done because I don't get interrupted.
and maybe the final piece of that bigger look is that compensation piece to know how far off we are on the people we're not getting. Like, are we a couple $1,000s off, or is it significant? And you don't, like, somebody comes with 2 years of experience, you don't bump them up. You don't have that option to bump them up to 5. You can't move them up and down the scale.
No, we have stuck to using years of experience pretty strictly, yeah. It gets a little tricky sometimes if they have experience, it's not school experience, and we sometimes have done a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 counting of years that way, but
All right, so we'll kind of table it for right now.
yeah, I
We got
appreciate
some
the
ideas.
discussion. I think that's all good, and so thank you for that.
Yes,
And
no,
we'll come
thank
back.
you, sir, for thinking outside the box. Thanks, Sterling, for the input. Melissa?
Next up is our ASL interpreter. We have been actively recruiting and trying to fill this position. We have had very minimal applicants, sorry about that. They both did not end up going through the whole process about applying and interviewing. So with that, we have had to work with agencies. I did a lot of research on different agencies. The price is very high for that service from the agencies. We did find one that we're working with. A challenge with agencies is there's not always a consistent interpreter that they are providing. We are having to work through the background check process, integrating with students all over again. It's a daily task of trying to make sure those services are in place. We currently have 2 students in our servicing area, one in a middle school, which is a full-time interpreter. The second one, we have a part-time elementary student, both needing while they are at school full-time. Our elementary student is on a reduced day currently. But we have in our budget that 30,000 hold for interpreting services, which has not been used for years because we have not had a need for ASL for, I don't even know the exact year, but for a long time period. So that budget is not going to be sufficient for our needs at this time. But also looking at our hourly rate is why we bring this to you. In order to recruit and fill this, I have talked with directors across the central Indiana area. And what we're finding is that $40 an hour is what many districts are paying these interpreters. There are some that are paying on a salary that is, higher than that $40 an hour rate. But in my research, that's what I found to be a valid rate to recruit individuals. So we'd like for the board to consider making or approving us to have that $40 an hour rate for interpreting. If we were able to fill that independently. At the contracted rate, we're obviously at the mercy of the agency.
So this is, the actual request is for us to hire our own interpreter at $40 an hour, but it's really us making this is like we just talked about in the other one, us making the request to Noblesville to approve it.
They will also be taking us there.
Does everybody get all that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Melissa, just to clarify, because Noblesville doesn't have this
Yeah,
position.
right.
And so when we talked about an hourly, the rate, they were like, well, they again wanted to defer to this board to
Oh, yeah, they're
give them guidance.
always supportive. I didn't mean it that way at all. I just making sure that's what we're actually approving here. So if everybody got all that, do we have any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mentor program.
All right, this is about personally about me. It probably could have been under reports. I was connected with Maggie Horniman at CIESC. Have not had, through their executive mentoring program, have not had a director of school psych mentor. And we're trying to recruit one because they've been around for a while, and I was suggested to her. And while I'm not retired, but maybe am getting close to that, she said that they have brought on mentors in that situation. What I just wanted to make sure that is okay with this board, with the understanding that I may at times take calls during the workday for as a mentor. And as long as just make sure that is okay with this board. If I do that, obviously there is a stipend that comes with being a mentor. I would, if I'm being paid by this board when I take that call, I would not double dip, and would only submit to be paid the stipend if I provide the mentoring services outside of my HBM contract hours.
I would say they couldn't make a better choice, Steve, and you're welcome to get a stipend, would be Dave's opinion. I mean, I won't speak for everybody else.
When I call you for advice, is that a double dip or is?
Yeah.
Because three
Only
times.
if you pay me extra for.
Okay, well,
Okay, then count as the mentor stipend.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any concerns with Steve doing that? They couldn't ask for, Maggie made the right call, sir. So
And I mean, we use that program.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we have three mentors that we're using. So
And I guess you guys, Mark, you don't go to the central, you go to the east.
Central.
Yeah,
Is that Haney? Haney? Yeah.
but I mean, you
That'd be
guys
something.
and Noblesville too use that executive
Yeah.
mentoring
He does,
program.
yes.
Pretty.
That sounds like Pat.
And Sterling, you go to the east
He's got a billion kids.
service center as
10
well, right?
emails a day.
Yeah, that sounds like that.
Okay.
All right, the next one is we're looking at making an adjustment to our operating agreement. Steve and I know, Steve knows the first one has been an issue with me for a while. It happened several years ago to me. So I think, and Steve, I'll let you clarify, we're basically, the first part is to ask to add to the members agreement, our membership agreement, that if one of us can't show, we can actually send somebody in our place, correct, Steve, that actually would have voting power. If you go back, if you remember several years ago, I was out for like 6 months and my person came but has no voting power.
So Dave, let me interrupt, because let me clarify. I think what it really made us, I think that is actually what you're proposing is already in the operating agreement. But what we want to do is clarify that for the board members, because what's happened we canceled several meetings because I couldn't get a quorum. And I guess my mistake, I should have gone back and read this more closely. You all can send, it already says you can send a designee in your place that would allow us to have a quorum in those situations. So it's really, Dave, I think I just put this on here to remind the board and recommend that in the future, if you can't be here, if you can send a designee, we can still have the meeting.
But we've changed it to designee can vote. I didn't know they're gonna add it.
It doesn't say that they can't, so I am seeing it as that they can.
If you're seeing it that way, that's cool. I think we've always taken the stance so the designee could not vote. So if you don't see any, and not to say I've read it all, sir, would be a lie. I just think that if we get into a situation where somebody's out for a while, I just want to confirm that person can vote in the soup's place.
Yeah, I mean, the wording here, it's while it doesn't exactly say the designee can vote, it says the designee is counted to make a quorum, and it says a vote is the majority of the districts voting in the affirmative, at least 3 voting in favor. So I read that as
Anybody not read it as the person can vote?
It's saying the vote is from the corporation essentially, and that the representative of the corporation therefore holds the vote. And then because in the upper part, you can send a designee that's a member of your administrative staff, and therefore that person has that, that corporation. At least that's how I would read those 2 paragraphs.
If that's what we can do, clarity taken. I'm totally cool with that.
so well, go ahead, Mark.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Yeah, well, that's why we've been talking through to make sure, because
I'm reading it and because we just had a similar situation where we had a quorum because we had 4 board members. And then one of them had to abstain because on a couple items because they weren't at the previous meeting. So we only had, of our 7 board, we had 4 show up. 1 had to abstain. But then we had 3 members voting. But then, because I checked with our legal on this, as long as the majority of those 3 voted in, so you could actually have 2-1 votes and things could have still passed in that.
Well,
in that manner.
Read
And
that,
so what I'm reading is that you can determine quorum by having a designee, but I'm not 100% sure that does that they can vote. That's all I'm saying. Like, since I've never read it either.
Yeah.
So,
well, as I read this too, I sort of thought, that last sentence and in conducting business, a majority shall be considered an affirmative vote of not less than 3 of the participating districts. So I think we need 4 to have a quorum, and one of those could be a designee. And then we need 3 positive votes. But I think that we could pass something with 3 of 7 voting, right? If we had only 4 present, which is a minority of the board members, which I think that could be a flaw in this language here, but in the language and operating agreement, but that is what it says right now.
So if we change any words in here, we got to take it back to our boards for approval.
We do it. It'd have to go to each of your boards before you all could sign off on it. So.
And the next change you're going to talk about is the meeting format, content, are we changing anything?
And the
there?
meeting format
That's
is,
not a change.
is not a change in the operating agreement. It's more to have, I asked Dave if we could just have a discussion, and I want to make sure we're meeting your needs as board members. Are we giving you enough information? That the operating agreement, and we've alluded to this already in this meeting, is set up and, you know, as we've revised it, I've kind of guided it in this direction. I'll take credit or blame for it, however you want to see it. We have moved it that the day-to-day operating of the co-op is handled by the Noblesville board. This board does not need to meet every month, and take lots of action because we rely on Noblesville. I think it's worked well. It saves you all time from coming to lots of meetings. That's the gist of the operating agreement. But I want to, the second item is, so how should we use these meetings? Is the way we're doing it now meeting your needs? Are you getting enough information?
Well, I don't want to move too. I don't think we're totally clear on the first one.
Well, my
whether,
point is.
yeah, that's why I want to, I don't want to change the operating agreement, but
All right, my point is, it says in there 4 meetings a year. You gotta have 4,
Whatever.
right? So I'm not worried about the meetings, but if we're gonna change that language, or if we need to change that language, then maybe we could slide something in there that makes us all clearer that if we send a designee, they get to vote.
or what I was gonna suggest too, sir, you already have to call Manna on the other time. Just simply ask Manna, what do you read? And if we have Church Hitler attorney says your designee can vote, then we know we're golden. If not, when we have to do all this next year, we add it in.
And I'm not against the designee vote.
Right.
No, I get what you're saying, Mark,
just
totally.
don't know about that language.
I can read it the way you both read it, actually. I
Yeah,
can read
because
it either way.
it's a
depending on-
void of the
But
affirmative.
we don't want to have
It's like
somebody
looking
sue
in
us
between.
later and be like, look, your designee was there, that vote doesn't count. That's what I'm. So see, I think the simple answer is, if Manna says, or whoever it is, we're working with Alex, says, no, it doesn't say that, then next year, when I don't want to go back and have everybody re-sign it again. So
Well,
next year we added it.
And I guess I'm somewhat reluctant. Even when Dave was out, she never voted.
And she never voted
Right.
during that.
But I mean, I guess the bigger concern is Dave was out for a reason. This group has been pretty consistent when we have the meetings.
I got what you're saying,
Going
yeah.
back from when we started together, this was the deal, and you came to the deal because Steve said you need to have a meeting. And it was typically, everybody was here, right? And it was all the superintendents. And for a young superintendent, because at that time I was young, that was awesome, because not just what happened during the meeting, but the conversations before and after. Okay, I worry a little bit as we've evolved. I don't have any problem with you saying, with whoever the chair is, hey, we don't need to meet this month, we're good. As long as we knock out our 4, make sure we're communicating, that's great. I worry that this is going to become a designee. And I think the work that we do here is important enough that unless you're,
I was out sick.
unless you're battling, we were Bundy strong. That was, there's orange t-shirts out there. Right?
I see him at Goodwill all the time. Actually, it's become a thing to find him at Goodwill.
That's, I guess.
I have like 6 pictures of him at Goodwill. Yeah.
That's my concern, is that I don't mind giving permission that if you have a designee that they can vote. I get that could happen every once in a while. I worry that these meetings have become less relevant because people aren't participating. And I'd be glad to share my specific concerns, but
Could we do, Derek, what if we did it this way? And again, I still think we need to answer the question of can it vote? And then the second part would be, I see where you're going, so you put that would have to be when we open it up. You put a reason. You're right. I couldn't help it. I was out sick for 6 months. That would have been nice to have, but nothing important came up, but we don't want to get in a spot, but it can't be more of that one-time thing. I 100% agree. I've always come to these meetings. I like these meetings and I come to see everybody. I get what you're saying. So maybe we could put something in that says it's a
but maybe
emergency
it's a
situation,
Derek
so to
issue.
speak.
Maybe it's not a global issue. Maybe having designees. To be frank, the person who knows the most about special ed at Hampton Heights is not sitting in this room right now. So maybe having a designee would be better. I don't know. I just,
But I think you'd have a redundant meeting then, because they already have a meeting.
yeah, but they can't vote on it.
Right, I understand that.
Melissa?
But
I
they
think
would.
it would be, you all also have the financial background and that bigger picture of that, which is also part of this meeting. That directors have some knowledge and hands in that, but not the level that you do.
Which I think that's a big part of number two, because of that's, I have no problem. I think we need to solve the designee and the who votes. Can't do that right now anyway. But also the meetings format. Steve has asked too, I try not to blend both, but Steve has asked, do we want more trainings and stuff like that? Frankly, we do the financials. I mean, I agree 100% with what you said. We do the financials and take care of personnel issues. I'm glad that mine's coming here getting trained on everything else because I let Lacey come back and tell me what's going on at that point. So I would like to know if they can vote, but I also, my personal opinion on the second one is we don't need to change the way we're doing
I
these
agree
meetings.
100%.
I don't think anybody's upset. I think, Steve, if I may speak, your concern was you weren't doing enough trainings or reports. And the reality of it is, that's not our job. That's not what we do. So.
And I mean, have you had indication that the format needs to change or is
No,
this you?
no, I think it may be just having a lot of, having trouble getting a forum made me think, should we be doing something different to make this meeting more worthwhile? Are folks not coming because it's not important?
And I guess, I mean, I mean, to what Dave said and what these guys are and what Sterling's doing by being here. I mean, these meetings are important. I think we have a meeting, superintendent should be here. And if you can't be here because you got something going on, I get having a designee. I just would hate to see that be a practice because I think it waters down who's representing each school at these tables.
It'd have to be an emergency situation.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a designee, and I don't know that I've missed more than, I mean, and this sounds like I'm bragging, I'm not bragging. Perfect attendance was my award in high school.
I knew you were.
But, yeah.
You might not know that.
Yeah, we knew this. Keep showing up, baby.
He's here again. So I don't know. That's my bigger picture story. I don't know how you say that in there.
Yeah.
I agree that if we get Andrew to say, can the designee vote? I don't have a problem with that. I don't want the designee here every single time. That bugs.
Okay.
Does anybody else? Oh, Sterling, you have any thoughts too, sir? Yeah.
Shaded early this morning on the north side of the river, and now I can't get on the south side of the river, so.
Understand? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think.
Mark's staying all
Right.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
Totally feel your
those-
pain.
Those are, I get those. I mean, when we have weather and stuff like that, I completely understand that. I think if you had 12 meetings a year, that most of us would be here for all 12 meetings, because you have a meeting. I value the fact that you say, you know what, nothing this month. I mean, I didn't even know the 4 was in there. So knowing that we're gonna have at least 4 meetings a year, I like having it on the calendar because when you cancel a meeting, I just got 2 hours of my life back.
Yeah.
I just would be cautious on how we play the designee game because I don't want a designee from somebody every time.
But what I'm hearing, we will come back. I will discuss with legal counsel what that wording means and whether we need to change that language in order for designees to vote. But we also want to possibly have a discussion about how designees were used, and
Yeah.
somehow there's an openness to sending that designee, but it would be the exception rather than the rule, is what I'm hearing from the
Mhm.
conversation.
That Derek's nice way, but it was, if somebody's out for an extended and can't do anything about it, then the designee should be able to come. I would agree with that. But you're right, if I was reined in or whatever it might be, then that's a different story. Yes, I agree, 100%. And I think you've heard unanimously, Steve, that we're cool with the way this meetings go now.
All right.
I think anybody disagree with that?
Good to hear. Okay.
Awesome.
I have really quickly, just board policy, one thing this morning I pulled out, I needed to review what our policy was on virtual participation. And I pulled out our policy on that, which I can share with you all, but it is allowed, but we're required to have it so that they can be seen.
Yeah, state law just says you have to be able to be seen and you have to offer it in an emergency. I think all our flooding's an emergency. So
No,
that's,
well, so.
we all know that one from
Um,
board
And,
meetings, yeah.
you know, as far as being seen, Sterling,
We
you
see
can
it.
all see him, right?
You can't say now, he just went away, is that?
And is our quorum policy that the quorum is in person only, right? Like that hits the quorum, not the virtual?
I
Well,
thought-
actually, when I was, John, when I read this morning, I'll get legal. I will come back on that because when I read this, I think it says that as long as they can be seen and can participate,
Yes,
that we can count
So
virtual.
our
feel
board,
very
our board
confident on that
was
one.
specific that quorum is in person, so I have to have enough in person to have it. But we are allowed to have virtual for those few that can't. So again, it's all, I think, board to board on
And
that.
I think ours limits how many times you can do it.
It does. It
Yeah.
limits,
Yeah.
you can't
You
do it all the
yeah,
time.
you can't do it.
and that should be based off the state law. State law after COVID changed for all of us, because, so I'm 90%
You
sure
can't call in
virtual
on the
for
phone,
these
you
kind of
gotta
board
do
meetings count.
this, Yeah.
And I apologize, I mean, we passed this 2 years ago and I am sure I have not looked at this since we passed it until this morning.
No one
This is the
needed-
first time.
No one needed an arc until today.
Got some new work for Steve.
Yeah. Melissa, you want to talk about compliance monitoring?
Sure. IDOE has started a new process, being held under the charge of the federal government. So one of the things they did this year is cyclical monitoring, and all of our districts were part of the second but first cohort to go through. They kind of skipped over the first cohort, and we were grateful to jump right on in the first opportunity. However, with that, they were focusing on those policies and procedures for the sped departments across the cohort. And the districts had to provide very specific information. So this was due last June. Your directors were working very hard on this. We kind of talked about policies and procedures throughout the year, but we did not get this assignment until I think it was in May, and they originally gave us 30 days and they extended it a little bit. So it was due in over the summer months. But within the links, you might, if you want to learn more, there's very specific content that the DOE asked us to submit. And then they shared that they would give us the findings of that within 3 months and let us know those next steps, whether there's corrective action plans or training required, et cetera. We should have those results, I would believe, sometime in September, if it goes as scheduled. So your directors, again, all worked super hard. It was a district specific task, not a co-op task. And so each person had to submit what their district is using for procedures. But I will say that a lot of our team worked collaboratively to be resourceful with our guidance here. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. And then the second link is that information that they collected, huge table of content there.
I don't have access.
Okay.
That's your house, sure.
RDA reports, those typically, when they first started that process, IDOE released those in the fall around Thanksgiving. A couple years, they were delayed until January. This year, they were delayed for last school year until I think July, around July, sometime in the summer. So those have been released. Your directors have access to those. You may have seen those. If not, RDA is a, I can see the faces, is the state's grading report card for special education. So they assess all of our outcomes with I read, I am, the graduation, attendance, our least restrictive environment percentages. There's so many counts that go into that, and our districts get graded on each of those. So for example, our I am pass rates, where were we on the continuum? They put it in a comparison across the state. We might be in the third ranking, we might be in the fourth or the fifth, and we get points for each of those. Also, were our reports all submitted in a timely manner throughout the year? And those are all given a point on each of those. They take the compilation of all of those data sources and give your district a finding of, like, you're a level 1, which you're meeting all the requirements. I think 4 is the lowest, is that right? So 1 through 4 based on the scores of each of those areas. So your district's report cards are all available. If you would like access to that, you can find that in the portal under the Ed Data. There's an RDA folder. If you need help with that, I can get that for you. Your director can get that for you. But the directors have been looking through those this summer. We've talked about it a bit at our co-op meetings as well. Just gives us our current standings and what we need to work on for each of our districts. So, any questions with that?
Do I want to look?
Hmm?
Do I want to look?
I think there's.
I think all of you are okay.
Yeah.
It's
That's when I open the report card.
And then most of us,
hope
you
it's-
know, 5 is the high score on those. Most of us have a 3 or a 4 here or there. But overall, most of us were at that level 1. There were a couple level 2s that. Yeah, all of you guys were doing well.
HBM.
So
retreat.
we, at our retreat, we identified kind of 4 areas of focus and sort of see this as probably being a standing item on the agenda, just to hold us accountable and make sure we're following through. For the early childhood assessment team, we talked about doing a more thorough program review where we are sending out surveys after every evaluation to parents and to the receiving teachers in your building for each case. And I have linked in here the parent survey. You can see it's very short, very, hope you have access. It's very, very short, just two Likert scale questions with an open-ended area to give us feedback. So we know how parents are seeing that. I wanted you to be aware in case you get a call from a parent about why am I getting this survey, or one of your teachers says, HBM is making me do this extra survey. We are, and wanted you to be aware so you know what they're talking about. But as you can see, it's extremely brief, and we're only using it to evaluate our own program. The team there's also a SWOT analysis in there that we did with the team that was really a good, looking at our own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and we're using that as a starting point for the analysis. The second area we said we'd look at was how school psychs are used. We've just been focused on finding school psychs. We haven't begun talking about changing how we're using them. So no report on that one. Professional development, Melissa, you want to?
The link there is the HBM PD offering. So we are trying to help promote what we can support. As funds are tight and we aren't going out to the PD as much as we can. And we obviously know that subs are also an issue there, but how can we support? So the PD team has sent links to all of the directors and offered for them to forward those on to others to let us know what your needs are. If you need a CPI training on a specific date, or if you need a literacy training on a certain date for a PD day, or a small group of teachers meeting at some point, we want to meet your needs. So that list of trainings is there. And we've also, again, sent those Google Forms out to districts to try to figure out what those districts needs. If you have a need that's not on here that you think is relative to our skill set and our range of services, talk with us and we'll customize something. And they do that all the time as well. So we're here to support, and there's some opportunities that are listed there.
Great job with it. Last part.
And the last one, just multilingual learners in special education was our last topic. And this is a document which has been developed by the school psych team. That is a guidance document for multilingual students. And if you are unable to open it, so am I.
That one opened.
Did everybody?
If you can't open it, we'll tell you it's really good.
Okay.
Just one-
But no, I think it is a good document, and we will continue this discussion with local directors about the challenges of assessing kids with different language backgrounds. Not a new topic, but one that continues. Anyway.
Just like yours.
I can't get it to open.
Any questions on any of the 4 of those? Any other questions for the 2 of them? Congratulations to Melissa. And then do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Wait.
Has anybody ever voted against adjournment? We're good. Thank you, everybody.
I do want to commend Melissa. She was a teacher for the deaf, hard of hearing before moving into administration, and with this short, we had trouble with sign language interpreters and the contract agency sometime not showing up, and she's been stepping into with a little kindergartner that she's having to chase around the room to communicate with, and she's been above and beyond her.
New opportunities.
I
So,
think
but I
one
do
of
thank you all for the future opportunities as well.
One of Steve and I's early mentoring opportunities for me was